What's up, everybody? Jordan Stewart here from Vover. Thanks so much for tapping into the Vover original show. Just a reminder that if you want to drop your opinions about the episode or respond to the host and guests with your voice, go and download the Vover app wherever you get your apps. Vover, voice over everything. Enjoyed the show.
FC Helsingør stands alone at the top of the standings in Denmark's NordicBet Liga. 7 matches played, 6 wins, and a draw, all equaling 19 points on the table. The most recent victory in league play, an outpouring of 6 goals for the club.
McCowards, det er et dejligt løb af Eli Just, og de er lige ved at spille sig hele vejen igennem. Hvilket kokkemål af Helsingør, der fuldstændig sprætter Jammerbuks forsvar op.
This is Vover FC, the sound of world football here on Vover, voice over everything FC Helsingør, here on our midweek shows this season as we go inside the club for an opportunity to share stories direct from Denmark. I'm Laurence Scott, and some news to share right off the top of this program, as in the highlight you just heard from the club's last league win, a 6-0 affair. You heard McCowards and Just mentioned in the build-up by the announcer, and we are here to note that the New Zealand natives, Callum McCowards and Eli Just, have signed new contracts with FC Helsingør to run through 2024, as another player from New Zealand is en route. Centre back Nando Pineker will join fellow Kiwis Just and McCowards with FC Helsingør on loan from Portuguese Premiership club Rio Ave until December 31st. So we wanted to bring in an intro to Nando direct from New Zealand football in his own words.
First started playing football, I think, with my dad in the garden sort of thing, and then at school, because all my friends were playing football, and that's all we'd do before school, at lunchtime, and after school. So yeah, that was how I got into football. I really liked Wesley Sneijder. I'm not sure if you know who he is, but he's a Dutch footballer, and I was born in Holland, so at the 2010 World Cup, when they made to the final, I was watching him. The National League was pretty cool, which happened pretty recently. I think that was a really good experience. Had a lot of good friends in that team, so yeah, we bonded really well and had a good end to the season. Not necessarily, I'm not really the one on the music or on the tunes usually, but I like to listen to music. Any type of music's good, and just chill out and relax before the games.
And as we record this episode, FC Helsingør, in the midst of the Danish Cup competition, has success in NordicBet Liga and nationally televised matches, all part of this story. And to that end, we return to a conversation on Denmark's TV3, where club chairman Jordan Gardner was responding to a question about how to handle future markers for success, such as promotion to Denmark's Superliga as it relates to building a squad ready to compete while maintaining continuity.
I think the mistake a lot of clubs make in a lot of leagues across the world is they get promoted and they clear out the roster and bring in all new players. And of course, if we get promoted this year, we'll have to probably bring in some new players. But I think, in my mind, you want to maintain continuity through the divisions. If you get promoted and you get relegated, you come right back, right? Not to have this kind of spike in terms of spending all this money on foreign players, let's say like what Avila's doing or what Fremadamba's done in this division. I think you can absolutely have a lot of success with Danish players in the Super League.
This conversation about the mix of Scandinavian talent and especially Danish players continued on TV3 in this pregame setting before the match with Lyngby, as Gardner shared even more perspectives on FC Helsingør's approach.
Look, I think we have a couple players from New Zealand, and we're never going to say no to necessarily a foreign player, but I think the challenge is it takes so long for those players to integrate into Danish football. I mean, you look at what Esbjerg is doing with all the young players from Barnsley. I mean, they might become very good footballers at some point, but it's going to take a long time, right? And for us, we're on the cusp, presumably, of the Super League at some point in the near future, and we need players that can come in and know Danish football. So we recently signed Mikkel Knudsen, who you know from Fredericia. You know, we had looked at some foreign players at that position and decided he's a known player. He had played for Viborg, Fredericia. He's a very, very good first division player. He can help us now. We know what we're getting, so we're going to go in that direction.
We'll have more of this conversation with the chairman in just a bit, as the talk in world football over the past 24 hours has been the passing of the transfer deadline. The window's closed, and some other news from the FC Helsingør front comes in the form of some loan agreements with New Zealand under-20 international Dalton Wilkins and Christopher Peterson being loaned to Kolding through the end of the 2021 calendar year. You know, a lot of transfer talk was was centered around the likes of the Premier League and La Liga, and moves that happened or some transfers that didn't happen in the end. Yet a lot of movement coming within Denmark, and some examples of players leaving the Superliga for Germany's Bundesliga or to play in Belgium, France, or the Netherlands. Certainly part of this story, but a healthy mix of players moving between NordicBet Liga, the noted first division where FC Helsingør competes, and the Superliga of Denmark. Very much part of this story, and when you think of the distinction, think Premier League in England and the Championship below, where the clubs are promoted to the Premier League, such as Brentford, Norwich, and Watford were for this season. And it's interesting to see the player movement not just within the Superliga, but between NordicBet Liga and the Superliga. And speaking of this strength that thus is built between the First Division and the Superliga, and you might not see as much movement between the Championship and the Premier League with transfers, but this here seems to be a true advantage for clubs in Denmark, with continuity again being key. For FC Helsingør, having a pulse on leagues around the world is equally key, as the chairman further explains.
So I have very close connections to a couple academies in New Zealand, and that's where our two Kiwis have come from, who are on the national team. I'm a very, very small equity shareholder in Swansea City in the UK and Dundalk Football Club in the Republic of Ireland. I don't have involvement day-to-day with those clubs, but of course we're always looking, are there ways we can move players? It's difficult with Brexit, obviously. But at the end of the day, I think we really rely on Brian Gellert, our sporting director, who's done a fantastic job of really looking at Denmark mostly, and then Sweden and Norway, and saying, look, how do we just find the best players at good prices for our budgeting and get the best team we can out of that.
And with that, we're back this time next week with so much more. For Adam, Francisca, Jordan, and Jim with the club, and for all of us here at Vover Sports, thank you so much for joining us for this midweek edition of Vover FC, voice over everything FC Helsingør.